Okay, so the second thing that we're going to talk about is wrinkles, textures, and fine lines. So this can present itself on like different ages, but
Definitely.
I think a lot of the time when people are doing more mature clients,
Most definitely.
they run into this, and it's something as a makeup artist and you know, a makeup trainer that people are really concerned about dealing with in the moment, because you do really need to think a little bit more about the skincare and the makeup products that you're putting on, so they actually look youthful and like hydrated and you know, glowy.
Definitely. And what a lot of people I think don't really grasp is that you can still have oily skin with a mature skin as well. Just what happens is, just like everything as you get older, it slows down, including the circulation. And your circulation is basically what controls your oil flow. So I think when we're talking about mature age skin, when we're talking about wrinkles, when it comes to wrinkles, the first place on our face that we always age is the eye area. Always. Sorry guys, sorry. We get those little lines, I still call them laugh lines because I refuse to admit that they're crow's feet, but the reason we get them in that area and they present themselves foremost is because the skin around the eye area is completely different to the skin in the rest of the face. There's no fat there whatsoever. It's basically just epidermis and your second primary layer of skin as well, which is the dermis. So you don't produce as much collagen or elastin in the area, hence why the skin loses its tone and loses...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but it is so important to always prep the skin with a really good... And it's not even about prepping, it's actually about sustaining the skin and also prevention as opposed to cure as well.
Yeah. What is the best way to apply an eye cream?
So we always use our ring fingers. The reason we use our ring fingers is because less pressure. Because we never really use we actually use our pinky fingers more than we use our ring fingers.
Right.
Yeah.
Just make sure your hands are disinfected first.
Always make sure your hands are clean. So ring fingers, okay? I just put like a quarter of a pea size because it's a very, very tiny area. It's a really small area. I always start at the temples, okay? You never actually go on the eyelids or into the eye area, purely because there's no lymphatic drainage.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's what I thought, but I just wanted to hear it from a beauty therapist.
100%.
I was right, all my students, I know things.
what's
So
going to
essentially there's
happen.
nothing to absorb product underneath the lash line area.
Nothing to absorb the product, so you know what happens?
You get little like skin,
They
what
look
they
like
call
little milk spots. They look
Yeah.
like little milia. They're not milia. Milia is something different, but they look like little white spots.
Yeah.
And they're really hard
So
to
it's
get
just
rid
like a
of.
build-up of product, essentially,
Build-up of product.
moisture.
Yep, and it's basically because there's just no sufficient drainage in the area to be able to actually absorb and drain out the more toxic elements of the topical things that we put on our skin.
So you're really tapping like around, underneath, like
around your orbital bone.
Yeah, I was going to say eye bag, but orbital bone is better. So like around here and then tapping.
Always.
Yeah.
And what actually happens as well is the elements within the eye cream, the moisturising elements will actually travel to where the
so that the moisture kind of absorbs upward, as if you put like a wet paper towel in water and it goes up from...
Exactly.
I think like when I do makeup, I usually use eye cream on everyone.
Yes.
But particularly when you're doing more mature skin, because doing mature skin, it really is, I mean, it's always all about the skin prep, but it really is, you really need to kind of give that more mature skin a lot of love.
Definitely.
Because no foundation or concealer or product is going to sit beautifully on top if you haven't prepped the skin appropriately underneath. So we were talking about this like off camera before, but some ingredients that are good to look for in eye creams are things like caffeine.
Definitely.
Which is more of like an immediate thing. So more to have in your makeup kits that impacts the skin quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. Caffeine isn't really one of those things. It's not going to have sustainable benefit
over time. It's more just like that immediate thing for your kit.
Precisely.
But in terms of like having like skincare, like support.
So with some, it depends on what you're trying to combat as well. But as far as fine lines and wrinkles go, a lot of products will have cucumber in them. It's basically to make the lines appear almost non-existent. But if you're wanting to combat puffiness and dark circles, cooling agents, any kind of cooling sort of ingredients like aloe vera is really good.
Yeah, when you're dealing with any texture, fine lines, things like that in the skin, product choice is obviously, again, really important.
Yes.
And so like Kristy said, you know, sometimes as we get a little bit older, it's not always that we're necessarily dry, which, you know, generally sometimes can be the case. We do need a bit more moisture in our skin, but it comes back to that consultation process of making sure that you're dealing with the individual needs. So whether they're like slightly oily or drier.
Yeah.
And then obviously from like a makeup perspective, after you've done like that skincare prep, it's really about choosing, again, you know, products that are going to sit nicely on anything that is slightly textured. So, you know, using less products in areas where there is a little, like slightly more texture, using thinner texture products, avoiding anything that's really, really super full coverage because it's just going to shift and sit in the lines.
It does.
Making sure that, you know, you are buffing product into the skin and buffing it out, and you're not powdering any areas that there has, you know, product has shifted, because essentially just powdering the lines in place.
Yeah.
So just, yeah, little things like that. And it's probably more about color correcting than just packing on full coverage to get rid of any pigmentation or, you know, discoloration or whatever.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Awesome. So I hope that, guys, helped you with kind of understanding texture a little bit more, fine lines, and, you know, sometimes the things that we come into contact with when we're dealing with more mature skin. But stick around, because we're going to have another video that's going to take you through another really important skin concern.